Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Taylor, for your comments. And I always want to make sure we recognize Senator Taylor's career in corrections and his perspective. That said, I do have some concerns about this appointment and the direction of the Department of Corrections right now. The reality is correctional facilities can be very dangerous places. We don't need to make them more dangerous with staffing issues. The concern right now is the fact that in the last month we've had 4 separate assaults at our correctional facilities. And I want to make a point about that because just a couple years ago it was declared that corrections officers are not public safety employees. Yet in the last month, 4 separate assaults have taken place. And I'm not talking about somebody getting shoved. I'm talking about closed fist, direct assaults, inmates upon corrections officers. And yet they're not considered public safety employees. Well, let's go through what has happened in these assaults. January 26th, the correctional officer was assaulted at Anamosa State Penitentiary. The officer was working at his post when an inmate unexpectedly struck him in the face with closed fist strikes. February 11th, an inmate attacked a correctional officer at IMCC in Coralville, which resulted in the officer having a broken nose. I'm going to come back to that assault in a minute. February 15th, a correctional officer at Anamosa State Penitentiary was struck by an inmate in the face with closed fist strikes. February 24th, a correctional officer was assaulted at Clarinda Correctional Facility. The officer was escorting 2 inmates to their units when one of the inmates unexpectedly attacked the officer. The inmate was able to land several closed fist strikes to the officer's face and head before the officer was able to restrain him long enough to call for assistance. I can understand the desire to talk about non-traditional qualifications and a new day in corrections, but let's not lose focus of the very serious problems in corrections that relate to some very bad people being behind bars. I fear that when we talk about the importance of the work of rehabilitation, sometimes we forget about or lose focus on the fact that violent and dangerous offenders are in our prisons. And I want to go back to one of those assaults. There was a press release issued describing the assault that didn't tell the whole story. February 11th, that inmate attack at IMCC in Coralville was stopped by an inmate. Stop and think about that. An inmate was required to assist. When we talk about inadequate staffing in our correctional facilities, we talk about situations where we are counting on inmates to come to the assistance of corrections officers. Now, we've been told that the part about the inmate coming to assist the officer was left out of the press release because we didn't want to put that inmate in danger. As if our inmates are looking up DOC press releases to find out what's happening in the facility. As if the rumor mill within the prison wasn't going to identify that an inmate had become involved in this. This is a challenging job. It's not an easy job to be the director of the Department of Corrections, but we have to get back to a very serious conversation in this chamber about how we protect those who are standing guard, those who are working longer and longer hours with less and less support in our correctional facilities. And when we talk about confirming a new director, I think we want to make sure that new director not only understands the importance of rehabilitation, but the importance of safety in these facilities and the importance of the role that the staff plays. What's concerning to me is it sounds like, from the perspective I'm getting from representatives of the staff, that there's been slow to little reaction to these needs and very few conversations with leadership and staff representatives at the local levels. Our prisons aren't going to get safer by relying on inmates to come to the assistance of corrections officers. And I fear that that's the direction we're headed. So with that, I would ask for a no vote. Let's straighten out what's going on in our correctional facilities. Let's start standing up for our correctional officers. Start making some real reforms in Iowa's prisons. Thank you.